Hello and welcome to the Artist Society podcast. This is Tasneem Lohani, your host as usual, and today we're in conversation with artist Salik Ansari from Bombay. Salik is an artist who explores many themes, but at the moment he is very interested in thinking about how violence plays out in the world, how violence is taken out of context in media, and how images of violence circulate on the internet. We will also discuss what it means to be a Muslim artist and just a Muslim in general in India and in the world today. So join us as we dive deep into his artistic practice. Hello, Salik. Welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Thank you, Tasneem. Thank you for having me. I'm mildly angry, but
Mild,
all good.
mildly or very?
Mildly.
You want to describe what just happened? What led us to this? Finally, getting to actually recording the podcast. It's been an hour of struggle.
Yes. I mean, the level of racism that we have, achieved. If it was 2 or 3 foreigners, they would have easily allowed us just to sit. But because it was one foreigner, one very Indian looking, which is me, and one doubtful you, it was a problem.
So basically, what Salik is describing is that we were trying to record this podcast in my hotel room. And as soon as we entered the hotel, the three of us, me, Salik, and Salik's friend, Flora, we were stopped and we were not allowed inside because apparently in a female room, a man is not allowed, apparently, in that hotel. Something that I learned while we were trying to go into my room.
Yeah. So I asked if we are foreigners, would we be allowed? So he actually goes on asking us, "Are you foreigner?
Yeah, you would think which country
Which
are you
country
from?
are you from?"
And I was like, you know what, let's just tell them we are all from Belgium.
Yeah,
I wonder what he would have said then. It's like, oh, like I'm so sorry to like actually stop you. Shall we let you in now?
yeah. I think he would be confused because we look Indian, and then we are from. So his racism factor will be like threatened, little bit confused.
Yeah.
Should I be racist? Is it the right amount of racism?
Yeah. Like it's we are being
And ye chodo, like I saw all the Bombay BST buses. They are now written. They come with this text, which is pure electric.
okay.
As if electric wasn't enough. This idea from pure veg to pure electric. I don't know why we are taking proud of it.
The buses, those are the buses are all running
all
on
the new
electric.
buses are with this text, pure electric.
What is the problem you see with the text
I
pure
see the
electric?
history of this idea of purity, that misconception on all those, also casteism. There's a history beyond this, the idea of being so-called quote unquote pure. And so it was also funny and satire as well to say a bus as pure electric, you know, as if petrol is of lower caste or is terrible something, which is not. But we see these things, that's why awareness of society and where things comes from, I feel, is important. And
Where our language is coming from.
yes, origin of those words and certain history behind it, and how bloody that history can be. You know? But again, it was also funny at the same time.
Yeah.
But the irony never ends.
Yeah, I mean, from being kicked out of my own hotel room because I wanted to take a male friend
For a podcast.
to record this podcast to having pure electric buses in Bombay. So this is where we are recording in Bombay, where Salik Ansari, the artist, lives. And so Salik, we met in London.
Yes.
When you were on a residency at Delfina and I was studying.
Yeah.
through a mutual friend. So you ended up coming to Kingston, where I was studying. Like, it was in the middle of nowhere, like all the way to Kingston. And you came and you saw our December show. It was so random. So random. And I honestly cannot believe we're still like sitting here after, I don't know, what is that? 7 years?
Yeah, 7 years.
2019. 6 years.
6 years. Okay, we both are bad in maths. That's proven. Yeah, 6 years.
So this is interesting. So what was the work you were doing at Delphina at that point?
In Delphina, I was in the first season cohort, which is Art Design Society. And I was working on a research project that time, art research. I was calling that project Amphibians. I was looking at this idea of living between digital and real at the same time, and how intuitive and unconscious, and also has it become to that we leave our digital footprint all the time in the form of data, and those data we don't own them, and it's basically it's a resource which is used sort of against us in many ways. Also, it creates a digital twin in a digital space. And this idea, and then I was looking at manual labor, digital labor, and a divine labor, which I call like internal organs, how they keep functioning, doing the same task over and over again. And those are not in our control. And slowly how the AI is moving, is going super or hyper intelligence. It's also becoming more and involuntary. Right now we are at this prompt phase. So I was curious about how this phase will evolve into something else. So that was the research project I was working on at Delphina.
Nice. So what is the divine thing that you're interested in?
It's like I'm very much interested in the labor of the heart, or labor of the pancreas, or those things that we don't control. And like, for example, 2 years ago, this theory that I was engaging with became even more profound when I had to undergo a kidney transplant. Suddenly an organ which was, I never thought about it, stopped working. And in order to, and then the process of dialysis for 2 months, and everything became even so much clearer, this idea of body in the machine, and the labor that happens inside on its own, and how granted we take of that. So it was very interesting, and that's what I call like heart and all of these labor inside, which is not in our control in any sense. We can influence them in a bad way, largely, but they are not in our control, but they are working 24/7 till the point we die. So how crucial that labor is, I often imagine if those were voluntary functions, we would have someone would forget to breathe, or someone would forget to have certain amount of blood pressure or different things. And so that working, I call it divine labor. It's something that beyond our self-control.
So there is, in a sense, there is also the data that we generate, or the digital footprint that we live, that is also not in our control.
So it has become so fluid now. You just carry your cell phone or your digital watch, and that's it. Or else, even if you're walking at some random road, so a CCTV is recording you, or something live, something happening, and that can be traced in many different ways as well. So even you don't have to consciously interact with a digital technology in order to leave your digital footprint or data.
So it's become more involuntary, like breathing.
Yes.
Just giving out a data.
Yep.
And why do you use the word amphibian?
Amphibians was inspired by like how the amphibians species, when they live between water and land, and they cannot be in just one environment. That's how I feel the digital is going in our aspect of time. It's a new paradigm. It's a very big paradigm shift that I think it is. And the more we use, the more interconnected and dependent we become. Having said that, I'm not against it. It's part of the course that we as nature are also moving. But also, what I'm not in favor of, different corporations using that data for
Yeah.
selling ads, dictating how you live, how you die, how your food is influenced, all of
Who
those
you
sort of
vote
things.
for? Who you vote for?
Shh.
I'm not allowed to talk about that.
I
But
mean,
we
it will be
are.
pretty clear from what I'm saying.
Yeah, because in the 2 years from your Delphina to when you had to have your surgery, in that time you worked on a completely different series, the Cutout series,
Yeah.
where you worked on these images that you found on the internet and the newspaper of the violence that was going on in India, particularly against certain religious groups.
Yeah.
And you were thinking about how these images were circulating online on the internet, and the Cutout series was essentially looking at how they were taken out of context, and then the internet was used as a catalyst to add fuel to the fire.
Yes, that too. And the way I was looking at these images, which is often, there is always a subject and a context in a particular image where a photographer or a journalist or an artist wants to highlight something, and there's certain thing that happens in background which supports it. My concern was, what are these events? What are these happenings that has become so normalized that is so called it has stopped affecting people in our surrounding? And so how this context defined. So for me, a context hold more important than a particular subject or a person or a face or a color. Because it's enabling that thing to happen in this particular given time and space. So what I started doing, that started making this personal archive, but those are pictures from different journalists, people who are in the field doing different stuff, documenting. I started removing persons and people, often the victims, thereby shifting the focus to the perpetrator or the larger context in which it's allowing to happen. And that became a series called Cutout Projects. But it grew more from that point. But that was the first thing, which was very much photojournalistic, but more investigative approach of paintings.
Yeah, and that's actually when I saw your work in person for the first time in Mumbai. But then so more recently you were part of the Berlin Biennale.
Yeah.
And it is the same thread of work that you've taken forward in your series that you presented there as well.
Yes, it has evolved from that point. And what I showed in Berlin was a series of 39 works protruding out from the wall. It wasn't like a traditional flat painting. I mean, the cutouts already are not in the sense of classic painting format, because the empty space allows you to ponder, think, and fill your thoughts with it. Like, you start to meander what's it about, and that's how you enter the work. But with the Berlin project, which I call it Altars of Absences, and so I was looking at this bulldozer justice, bulldozer as form of violent object of and the thing that has been happening across country in different countries as well, where this bulldozer is being used on people who come from a certain religious caste or economic backgrounds, and those are mostly lower always, and how they suffer minorities in different forms, and how that object is being used and branded as more so-called cleaning sort of,
cleansing,
yeah,
purifying.
yeah, sort of that. And but I have shown different sites, from cultural spaces to personal homes of people, from dumping grounds, also dumping ground, because all of these solid waste goes somewhere and they largely ends up there. So it's a byproduct of a society. It became also a site of interest, where we throw our unwanted stuff. So, and all of these combined.
I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge what you just said, because very heavy.
Mm.
We're looking at a dump yard as a place of things you want to get rid of, and what we're getting rid of is someone's home that's just been taken down by a bulldozer.
Mm.
And there have been images of this, or videos of this rolling all over the internet, and people are just watching as this is happening. Some people don't have the agency
Mm.
to say anything about it, and
Mm.
most people don't want to believe it's actually happening, and people are also indifferent. But this idea that we are all witnessing it in the age of the internet, and yet it is something that we witness but we do nothing about, right? Just listening to you talk is making me feel so deeply upset. And of course it's deeply upsetting when it was happening as well, but I used to always think that when you look at images, they're so powerful, right? Like when you go to an art exhibition, you look at an image and it really moves you because it's evidence of something that's happening. And when we have so much evidence of so much going down, and we feel absolutely no urgency to respond to it.
Yeah, and also there is this mass helplessness at times through social media that people often feel, whether it's uh, not lethargy. Lethargy is not the right word, but uh, people get also overwhelmed that they feel that it's happening so much that it's beyond their sort of control.
Yeah.
So a lot of people resort back. Some goes into this panic mode because what if you see one side from so many different angles and you're just consuming in those 10 seconds of reels or videos which is coming from different point of views but the same side. You're not getting a new information, but I call them adjective ways of looking or showing something, which is uh, something is falling, but in image and video is falling 1,000 times.
Sorry, come on.
When a structure, something is falling, let's say, even if it's an apple, but in videos and pictures, you keep seeing different people posting. It feels like psychologically it has fallen 1,000 times. But that skewed our perception of reality in a very different way. And so I was like, the selection of images was also it's hard to take pictures of that work because it opens up so many views, and I wanted to be so physical that people keep looking from different angles as if they are investigating by themselves. So the work display allows them to move in the space in in many different ways. Because when you look at a picture or a painting, you go back and forth or you go in a detail of that. In this sort of display, they were doing that. Plus, there were many different views of intersections of different events that was happening. So you're always aware there's something closer to that is happening, and you cannot see one image in isolation. That's how the reality has become. Hence, the display was like that.
But this was actually very minimal, right? There was a lot of cutouts, but I think the visuals were not there weren't any really visuals of any violence. There was a suggestion of like spaces, and through, I think from what I saw, there seemed to be a lot of arches or like outlines of buildings and things like that. So there was a suggestion of a space, and then there was just a sense of absence.
Yeah. My reason was I don't want to fetishize violence. I don't want to do that. And those things have stopped making effect. So I resorted to, and I allowed viewer to fill that sort of, because they themselves have, we all have that images of violence in our head. For me, that is enough. So my attempt was to make them recollect, think. And thinking, I believe, is a very important part. We see across world different type of political and structural forces now,
Mm-hmm.
they are very against thinking. They are very against you, that how can you think? How can you structure your thoughts? How can you communicate? They're very ready to unnecessarily shut you down. In short, they're against thinking. They're against intellect.
Yeah. That is the classic way to get people to not
Yes,
protest,
yeah.
right? Because
Or
you're
else you bring out, oh, my mental health is not work. Like I'm seeing so much that I don't feel good. Yes, that happens. That's why I gave the example of an apple falling. Does an apple fall 1,000 times? Because we have seen 1,000 times. Not really. And that is the effect of technology and digital now. But I brought it to a very physical realm so that it brings certain slowness and investigativeness among the viewer. I feel that slowness is very important, and a physical work of art can have that capacity still.
And do you think it's also connected to your amphibian project? Do you think a lot of this thinking came out of that?
Those images do come from the same digital sources that I've been also looking at earlier. Uh, there is a slight evolution because amphibians work specifically in the types of labor and the data and these two realms. Here, I look at more the absence of those violence, but present in those remains.
The remains, the
Yeah,
residue.
yeah, residue. But the sources are largely collected from internet, and I'm very aware. I was always aware that where these images come from, and I don't claim those images because those images are not mine. I've been in making of the work. I've been just mere a painter as a craft. Those images come from different sources of different photographers or people. But when they are put together in that certain cutout work, so I call my work as more like creating of those absences. How the today's time we are removing, like political forces, when they remove certain household or demolish a structure of people, they're creating these absences in a very very different way. And I'm sure there are different euphemism and also legality, illegality. Those conversations also comes in play. I'm not saying all of those demolitions are wrong or bad or good, but when we see a pattern, a pattern emerges,
Yeah.
and then you see that pattern and you see there is something not right in the way society is being functioning right now.
Yeah.
And how come
In India and globally.
globally as well? Yes, globally as well. But also these observation comes from care, because you care for your surrounding.
Yeah.
You want your surrounding to be hygienic. You want your surrounding to be functioning well, uh, where people are not suspecting each other. You're not walking on a tiptoe. It comes from, so my understanding comes from more care, because if you care, sometimes you get observant about these things, or else you just reject. And I didn't want it to reject. I didn't want it to close my eye. So that's how those sort of bunch of mix of thoughts and experiences and references of digital, physical, visiting actual sites all came together in the form of altars of absences.
Hmm. Hmm. It's very painful, no? Like having to be the bearer, the witness, and also having to talk about it because most people aren't, in some sense. And you want to have the conversation. And also, traditional means of conversation have become so difficult, right? There are, like, sometimes friend groups will decide that we will not talk about politics because we will lose our friendship over it. Or friend groups decide that we will deliberately talk about politics and we're okay to lose you as a friend because you don't align with the way that I think, and like you are right wing or you are left wing, and that is not okay with me. And so communication has become so volatile.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like sitting down and talking face to someone has become super volatile.
Also, the tolerance factor has gone so low.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, as growing up, I remember when internet started to become more accessible, and all of these, the way they used to so-called market us, all those advertisements, everything, uh, that this is the future, this is how. I don't think I ever imagined a future like this.
They used to
Somehow,
market what
somehow I used to imagine like, yes, I mean that is also true that we are able to collaborate so much uh, across cities, across homes, across countries, geographical location. Those things are also happening, and I see them. But also the kind of social media and algorithmic influence we have in our society. Uh, I don't feel we need to find some solution. There should be some democratic solution on the internet, and through that, in which the algorithm is also influencing human society, and there is a lot of groups working on that. Uh, but it's a very big thing. It's a very big thing.
There are alternate social media platforms, right? It's essentially very hard to look at the traditional social media model that, for example, Meta, Facebook have, where it's about growing your audience, and as long as that is continuing to happen, and in fact, rather, as long as they want that to happen, they're going to create algorithms that are constantly using our data to keep us hooked, keep us engaged. And secondly, using funding from all kinds of corrupt people and rich people who are able to afford to pay them to influence how their algorithm should work.
I think there should be some line drawn on that aspect of, and I still believe the kind
Regulation.
of advertising as a field on the internet has evolved. You can advertise for anything, and there are different ways. How much content are you seeing? What is being shown to you? Uh, all of these peripheral, which is not so peripheral because it's just happening on your screen. And if your phone usage or internet usage for like 4 hours screen time or something, how much time that they have to influence you. Uh, and so that's why I feel there should be some line drawn. I don't know how, but
By whom?
That's what I said. Democracy and internet, democratic, that sort of thing. And there are different. Already has been like how Linux started, or open source platforms, user generated data. Uh, Sometimes I find game spaces very interesting, like these massive multimedia role playing games, MMORPG, where it's largely generated by players itself. And so that's also a very amazing space, how people collaborate, communicate. So there are these communities, people build connections, relationships through working, playing, solving problem together. So those things, those spaces are very different than traditional social media. And the way social media has evolved, and advertisement and that process is very key. That's how the money comes in. uh, and yeah, so there is no limit on actually political advertisement on internet, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, because there isn't regulation, and there won't be regulation. I mean, who's going to do the regulation? The government. But the government is benefiting from the way the algorithms are working currently. So they will not put the regulation. I think it's only when it affects them, then they start doing the regulations.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think a lot of the helplessness that people feel is perhaps, I mean, they're right to feel it because, again, it's like, how do you contest with something like that? I think as artists we make artwork to kind of create a collective conscience of people where we can have a space to think about it and maybe even ponder upon ways to challenge it.
Yeah. For example, now I don't feel much helpless. And also in a way, often this might contradict, like this, what I'm about to say might contradict myself, but when I choose to be an artist, I was very aware that it's not a thing that you can eat, it's not a policy, it's not a system which will be used by other people. So then, as we often, or sometimes we do think about what's the role of an artist, if there is any, which I'm sure there is, which is also to open up uh, these spaces in society, in whether in research or different places, which largely is inaccessible, and make it accessible through works or spark that conversation.
Okay, so we took a short break and we're back. So you were saying, Salik, that you don't feel helpless anymore.
Yeah.
We were talking about how people feel helpless watching images of violence on the internet. So tell me, what have you done for yourself to...
Now, this is very personal, but also I think it's psychological. If you start to feel helpless, you're already lost it. Imagine you're playing a game, and a game needs a lot of thinking. You have, by default, from the beginning itself, you have lost that hope, or you feel helpless. Your mind stops to think, or stops to enjoy as well, that all those strategies, which I don't want it to happen. I decided I'm not helpless. Yes, you are not, and it's actually that easy. Now, being an artist, a lot of times I get like, yeah, but you're not doing real stuff, especially mostly comes from engineers, and that's how the largely society is. But I mean, what most of people are doing, like if they are designing an icon, or filling random data manually, there are many different kinds of things. Not all engineers are doing something for the good as well. But as an artist, it's a perpetual job as well. You walk on the street, you think about society, you draw, you do research now, uh, and everything constitute. It's a very different kind of work, which often, and also I started enjoying being misunderstood sometimes. It liberates you, and I am often at times I am comfortable now. But when I say comfortable, I don't mean that I don't change or I don't evolve. Sometimes I'm very, very comfortable with people uh, misunderstand me.
And how do they misunderstand you? Is it your practice,
Because
or
they
as a
come from
person?
different understanding of situation, society, their lived experiences. If you have also, it allows, like, many few things can be acquired in this, but if you have different lived experiences, that enables you, if you're an empathetic person, or you're a thinker, and you enjoy connecting the dots, how things are, why things are. If you have that curious mind, the baseline is that curiosity, you will eventually take your time to understand something. And many people don't. So why to bother yourself? So I enjoy as well being misunderstood, and I enjoy having different interpretations of my work, because and it can be that I have missed something, which that misunderstanding opens up something. I love that part. No.
That's interesting, because I generally like to be around at exhibitions when I'm showing. But recently when I had a show, it was an unusual space where a lot of people came who weren't actually like generally art gallery goers and all, which was great. And I love that always. But I don't know, somehow it was a different crowd. And I saw so many people walk past my work and just like point and laugh. And so and there was a series of like abstract drawings, and they're super personal for me. And that series was just like, it was really emotional drawings that I made. And they're abstract. There's absolutely no form that I am trying to make. Of course, people associate all the time, right?
Yeah.
And there was one guy who passed by and he was like, "Oh my God, what is this? A half boob?" And I was like mortified. Like I was like, "Shit!" Like in my stomach, I had this feeling of like I should like run away from here or something. And it's, I think, like when someone says something about your work, misunderstands it or analyzes it, it often feels like they're misinterpreting you, not the work.
Yes, yeah. So true, so true. And I also do feel that way. And
So you're saying it's a switch that you have switched
yes,
off?
and also like over the years I've been very vocal with some people as well. When I remember in one instant many years ago, and they said, "But I don't understand your work." I said, "That's your problem." I've been that cocky and I enjoyed that part. Uh, but then I was also different. I still have that aspect, but now I'm more like I also look at things and uh, but I don't mind using that side whenever it needed. So it's always at the disposal, depending because I don't. I want, of course, my viewer to engage with work, enjoy, like experience, and think. I love when my people makes them excited or think. And there is a different thing about a work of art. You can work with very very personal subject or a very social tragedy or something, and that work of art can make people very exciting about it, which is a very different emotional experience that I as an artist might expect. But then there is another the side of the genius where having faced that thing in life and taking that experience and putting thoughtfully in a certain
Having the
having
experience
having
and
lived that experience, having suffered or having experience,
endured, yeah.
and then making a work of art or it transforming into a work of art with that discipline, the time, that engagement, the way it develops everything. And and I would love that if people get excited, we'll get excited. I remember when I was very very young.
But sorry, I just
Yeah.
want to ask you, um, we're talking about people like your friends or visitors to the gallery, how they respond to your work. But I know you're also very close to your family and your community where you live in Bhiwandi. So how do they engage with your work, and how important is that to you?
The way they engage largely is how many times my works are being covered by newspapers,
Okay.
uh, published somewhere.
Okay.
That's the language they know,
Mm.
and that's how they enter. Uh, Sometime they ask what it's about, uh, but largely, as growing up, every time this question has been asked from a place of ridiculing,
Okay.
there's this certain tone of ridiculing what it's about,
Mm.
and now I have better answers to that.
You become more articulate.
Yes, you have to be.
Yeah.
So now I love those questions when it comes. But jokes aside, they do look through how many places I've published or how many people are talking about it, which is largely they understand the language of newspaper or online publishing something. And so whenever they see my work, they feel, oh, he's doing something interesting. We don't know, but he's doing something interesting.
Yeah, and I think part of wanting to do this podcast for me has been that, because my family asks me all the time, what does this mean? And my family, they're so sweet, they're genuinely like curious, and they come to all my shows and they really try. And I think sometimes there's only so much I'm able to tell them. And I spent a lot of time talking to them and explaining to them. And yes, that feeling of being ridiculed does come in. It's I think you always put yourself in a vulnerable position when you're talking to a person who is just so confused, right? And they're just like asking you questions from all angles, and it's great, right? But at least with my mother, I've come to this point where I can just like be stuck with the work or just wonder if this work is good or not, and like call my mom into the studio and be like, so like what do you think? And she very accurately will point out which work is good and which work is not.
Nice.
And she will give me reasons
That's
which
very interesting.
all make sense. And I'm surprised at how much, like how involved my mom has gotten in my practice, and the fact that also, I mean, I've thankfully been able to explain to her what I've been doing, what I'm trying to do.
I love this part. Like for me, my younger sister is that. She has a very curious mind. She's observant. So every time I show her some work, and she tries to explain my work to her friends who have no idea and no interest. And that's always a fun conversation. Whenever she try to explain to them, they start making a video or joking around. Oh, it's too.
Oh, they make a video of her explaining you. Wow.
And my younger sister, she's always embarrassed.
Oh.
But in a fun way. And my mom now, anyone asks what your son does, she started saying he does something which I don't understand. He's doing something great. And so she speaks from a place of certain pride, which it does make you feel good. Yeah. But it's been a journey. It's been a fairly a decade-long journey.
Yeah, and also growing up Muslim, I think at least what I've heard growing up Muslim is you're not allowed to make images. Right? Imagery is not a part of our language.
Living beings, animals, and humans with eyes, specifically.
And like we wouldn't wear clothes that had
prints on it.
And so I think like even when I told my parents I wanted to be an artist, they were like on the surface they were okay, but then they sent a letter to the priest to ask our community priest if it's okay for her to study this and all that, and they came back and said no. No explanation, right? And I was like heartbroken because I was like, first of all, like I was so confused. I was like, why? Right? No reason, nothing. And my mom was also actually confused. Like my mom is religious and she tries to absorb the parts of religion that she really thinks resonate with her and make sense to her. And then other parts she questions, because sometimes these like it's very complex, all these processes of sending a letter and all. Sometimes you don't know like who's responded. So she went ahead and sent a second letter asking the same question, right? And then second time they said, yeah, okay, do it. So we were like, we are doing it. That's it. Chapter closed. Right? Yeah, but like for my parents at that point was like, they had no idea. No idea what I was getting into. And neither did I. I was like, मुझे पेंटिंग करना अच्छा लगता है, मैं पेंटिंग करूंगी, पूरी जिंदगी मैं पेंटिंग करूंगी. And my parents were also the mindset, like they really supported ki whatever you want to do, you do, how much ever you want to study, you study. But of course, they were a Muslim mindset of like, get married, have children, and you can do this painting from your home. You can have a home studio, which I do, right? But they're very upset that I travel this much.
Most artists have home studios. If they have home studios. I talk to young artists from Mumbai, like the size of spaces that you get here. And so so it's largely space shared with kitchen or some corner.
Yeah, I think That's sad, the sad reality. But I think like
Yeah.
just this context of like you do this because you can also do all these other things
Yeah.
that traditionally we would like you to do. So this fits. So you do it. Great. Right. And I want to know like what was that like for you? Was that resistance? Because actually I luckily for them have gone into making very abstract work. So there is no kind of recognizable form that I'm trying to create anyways.
Yeah.
But for you there is. It was that
Mm.
ever
At the
a
beginning, there
discussion?
was more, and I think I faced more criticism of my choice from different relatives, friends of my age, and different people that I met. Slightly less from my parents. As far as I remember, my daddy was okay. I said, if you have an interest, you go ahead. And for me, that was more than enough. But the ridicule came from surrounding, from different relatives, as if I have to prove that, and then the same thing. So I often, when I entered art school, I started to think about why this idea of drawing living things is a taboo or is considered taboo, both. So I think in those times, there was paganism and everyone had different idea of God and images or sculptures, and they used to pray to many different things, and there were different fights and other things. And over the period, if you start to draw, and the way Islam is, we don't have any images of any prophets whatsoever, and that has been very conscious. It's a very spiritual decision as well. It's a very how those ideas or those religious and spiritual ideas were communicated, not by images, because history has shown that people start to worship those images, and it goes in different directions altogether. And so as Islam and those philosophy of spiritual philosophy was very against that, of that representation or having an image of a prophet. And so those, having studied those things, it makes sense. But also, if you closely look at it, I think it is mentioned more about if you draw with an intent for a worship. That is more of a taboo or haram, But for example, here you are painting or drawing a helpless person lying on the street, or someone's home has been broken. Your work is more about this idea of giving or making that thing
Giving it a stage, a
a stage
platform.
or a platform. So it's a very different approach, which I understand larger society don't take art that seriously, but it's very important part of it.
Again, the context
Context.
in which this has been written, right?
Yes.
Often a lot of things that we learn or we're taught growing up, sometimes they're taken out of context. It's just taken as hard fact. No, you're not allowed
Yeah.
to do a certain thing. But as you rightly said, like you're not allowed to draw an image for worship.
Yeah.
Right? And then it translates in so many ways that we don't wear prints of like animals, or we don't wear like this has a face, we cannot wear those clothes. Even if in a way we have not created that image, right? Like creating the image is a wrong thing, but also wearing an image. I think that, imagine like many years ago, like when this would have been written down, right? At that point, there was no digital printing.
True.
There was probably hand drawing, and there was
hand drawn or hand painting or something, or mark making on clothes and fabric. I'm sure there was some kind of prints, yes, uh, like natural pigment, using of natural pigments and impression of
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking about this mass distribution of like these digital images that you have on prints today, which is in a way a more realistic version, right? Like at
Yes,
that point when they used to
yes.
draw like birds and all, it used to be decorative. It
Very
used to be,
rudimentary.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
rudimentary. I don't know if it. I mean, I'm just guesstimating. Like, I wonder
Hmm.
if it was a problem then. Here
Yeah.
now, it's like it looks very realistic when it's like a digital print, and I feel like that somebody has just decided that this is just not allowed
Hmm.
to do.
Yeah, but also I feel uh, this when I'm thinking from this lens of spiritual philosophy or a spiritual take on not choosing an image, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
it can also sparks imagination.
Hmm.
You have to be so imaginative, and those words, for example, when we read novels or something, often they don't have images. Often you speak to readers, they largely prefer books without images. Somehow that has been strangely. I'm not
Hmm.
saying it's the only thing, not as that way, but having no sort of image or real representation. I'm not saying. Also, in the history of Islam, there has been images. It's just not
Hmm.
of living persons. Less of that. Way less of that. There has been flora, fauna, geometry, celestial things, rivers, geography, many different things. It's just that with humans or the eye or the animals with the eye, and I think yeah, that's where when it's all a guesswork. I don't know what exactly has happened down the line, but
Hmm.
as an artist, it is when
As a lived experience, I think is important. It doesn't matter really what is written or what is the actual script, because in a way, I guess what I'm trying to understand is your lived experience. I mean, it does matter what is
yeah,
written,
yeah.
but
There was a lot of ridicule at the beginning
there is.
of the same thing that oh you're going to draw realistic so-called and during the Qayamat you will be responsible for
Oh,
putting life
wow.
to it, and you won't be able to do that, so you will go to hell, and
You'll be responsible for putting life to it.
you will be asked to put a life in your drawings during the judgment day,
Okay.
and you won't be able to do that because you're a human, and yes, I am a human. So that was the argument was always
Oh.
put forward, and so my always like that 16-year-old kid always used to say, but I'm not drawing with an intent. I don't want anyone to prey on this. My idea is to communicate something not as from religious point of view or to distract people, but to awake, like make people aware. That was my in my own broken articulation. I used to communicate that way, and at the beginning it used to hurt a lot. But then I've come to realize this, that people often they are very okay with very simple facts, and they don't do the thinking work in
Hmm.
which a certain thing is being spoken or in which a certain thing is being drawn, produced, presented,
Hmm.
uh, because it's too much of work for them.
Hmm.
And so when I came to that understanding
Hmm.
with maturity and age, it stopped bothering me.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think why I'm also talking about these things is I think we live in a culture where our Muslim experiences are very much pushed to a corner and not acknowledged and celebrated. I think we live in a time where we are a minority that is largely disliked across the globe, right? And I mean, just last week, Zoran Mamdani has become the mayor of New York, and I don't think anything has made me happier than that
Yeah,
news in a really long time.
yeah. I mean, from 2001 to now, that journey uh, from Islamophobia to that city embracing a person who is openly accepting and not apologetic that he is a Muslim, and yeah, I think it's a great thing. It. However, it's not our mayor, or we don't come from that city, but
Yeah.
this idea that such hate can be transformed with love and acceptance, that the
Yeah.
possibility that
Yeah.
not everything is lost. This idea is very powerful, I feel.
Yeah, it is, because right when we thought like Trump has come into his second run as president, I think I just disengaged with like just the world politics and just politics of America. And I think why we all care so much about the politics of America is also because, someone said America sneezes and the whole world catches a cough. Right?
Yeah.
They do something and the rest of the world follow. And I think, I think the East is just heavily influenced by the West in a lot of ways, colonial baggage and whatnot, and it
But I think that
continues
is
to.
changing. That is changing a lot now.
No, I think if you look at, okay, if there is a very powerful leader like Trump in America, then someone like our Prime Minister or someone like Netanyahu in Israel has support and backing, right? If you have someone like Zohran Mamdani in a position of power, then the people that he will be backing. Because let's face it, America has made itself a world power. So it does have the capacity to back things, and what it backs does become as powerful as them.
But also with Zoran, it's also important to see what he does now, how he does that.
Yeah.
So he's a way to prove himself.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, his campaigns, his awareness, wittiness, his idea towards making that city affordable for people of that city, and the way he communicates everything, it's great. He takes in account of people. He is a people person, loved by people, but also uh, how he works for people. Now it's that time, and so it would be interesting to see how he works now, saying and doing.
Yeah, but I am with you. But I think that after a long time, we have something to celebrate. Like,
yeah,
really,
of course.
truly.
I'm not saying it's not a. It was fun to seeing the campaign, the way people across the globe people cheering. It was amazing to see that.
Yeah.
And I think it also felt like a Bollywood film. The way he positioned his campaign, it was very fun and super energetic.
No, he walked out with Dhoom Machao.
Yeah, I love that
Dhoom
part.
मचा दी.
धूम मचाओ.
उसने धूम मचाया है, तो that is also true only. But yeah, I think there is just a lot of erasure, right? Like we keep talking about films that used to have their titles in 3 languages in India: English, Hindi, Urdu. Now we see only English.
Or 2 language.
Or sometimes we see Hindi, but Urdu is taken out of all. I think it's something that dawned on me when I started rewatching like old Hindi movies, and it became more and more obvious what has happened in the last few years.
In the old films, so true. What you're saying, it was largely this idea of unity that movies used to have, that subtext.
Yes.
But now so much has changed.
Yes.
So much films that fuels, and also I think that internet also helps. Like, I think filmmakers started to. I'm not sure. It's a guesswork again, but filmmakers also see what's trending, so called, on. And they get influenced by
trending
that.
And also their own positionalities, right? I think all the people that were Islamophobic essentially felt they could voice out their opinion because there were so many other people doing it, and now they felt safe.
Yes, I think
to do so.
True.
Right? Yeah. When you are living in a country where it is democratic and secular, and we're considered everyone as brothers and sisters and equals, there Islamophobia is going to be shunned. But now it is the norm.
Yeah,
Islamophobia is the norm.
yeah, mm. Yeah. Even like for example, many films often uh, the way they show characters, the character which has a Muslim name or background, it's treated so differently in many mass films, like popular
Yes,
films.
you will see the villains, the people coming from troubled backgrounds, all having Muslim names.
Yeah. So, and also like the mass films have largely been rhetoric. They haven't been kind towards people of different color, different race, religion, and very stereotypically or uh, boxing them into that zone of rhetoric and they
Dehumanizing.
dehumanizing them with that practices. So, but there are different films as well, which some film which doesn't do that. Uh,
Yeah, I
so
think films have such a, again, it's we live in this weird dichotomy of where like something like a film which has these images influence people so much, whereas images on the internet make you numb. And I think what you said earlier was very important because of the idea of the apple falling 1,000 times. Like you're not seeing that film 1,000 times, you're seeing
yeah,
it once, and if you're
once,
going to the theater, you're seeing it in the theater once,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so that impact is so different from watching like a meme or a reel like 20 times on your phone. And like what you're saying is also interesting, because not just that like the same thing is being posted by so many people again and again and again, it's that like for example, my Nana ji would have his thing open, and then I often see like older people will watch the reel at least 3 times. I think they take some time to grasp. I think it's also very fast paced compared to like how the films or the TV of their
yeah,
generation was.
yeah.
So there is this sense of uh, having to rewatch it a few times to actually digest what they have seen. Those were things, even though they're doing it because of course the pace of the image is different, it's still a different way of viewing it.
Yeah,
It has a
very
different
true,
impact on your
very true.
psyche.
Yeah, because they're largely most of their life they have grown and experienced which is very physical, and there is certain slowness and time involved with it. With us, uh, and with even newer generation who are born with phones, laptops, computers, internet all the time, yeah, it's more different the way they communicate and interact.
So, Salik, I want to end this conversation by asking you, what hopes and dreams do you have for the future of the world, the place that you live in, of, of a country, of a city, or for yourself? You can pick anyone. I've given a multiple choice question, so you can pick anyone and answer.
No, I think it's not gloomy, it's glory.
Sorry?
It's not gloomy.
Hmm.
Like coming back to the example that I gave, the reason I don't feel hopeless is the moment I start to feel hopeless or helpless, I'm done, and I'm so not done. So that's the idea of future. I feel it's not gloomy and it's glory.
Because
Something.
it's because the switch is in your hand, and the power that you decide to
Yeah,
keep it
like,
in
and
with
why to
you.
feel so defeated? There's so many things to build, to work, to talk, to discuss, to art, to enjoy. Uh, yeah, I mean, if you feel at the beginning of the game, you feel that you are done, then how will you move forward? Uh, and this something is also very personal. A person needs to ask these things to themselves. Also, often at times, shut all of those exterior influences if they can, if I can, and just because it's very important to move forward.
And we are not done yet, so we will
Yes.
keep moving forward. Thank you, Salik, so much for spending so much time and sharing so generously about your work. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tasneem.
We are the Artist Society podcast by the Artist Society Collective. Find us on Instagram to hear about the next episode. We are called the Artist Society Collective.